Hello and welcome to In My Image. This is a special overview episode. I will show off some interesting stuff, both regarding our dynasty, but also the world and its state in CK2. I am currently working really hard on the EU4 conversion, and it's going really well. I will make a video showing you the world soon enough. You don't have to wait too long for one of those videos. But I can already start by requesting, like, if you want to suggest names or whatever, then you can do that. Ideas for nations, for example. That's a good one. Currently, I'm using randomly generated ideas, which you may not find too fun. Anyway, let's go through the CK2 end here. We have glorious Badian with some extruding border gore here that I have gotten rid of in the conversion. I'll start off by showing you this end date. This is just the world at the very end, and then I will show the curated CK2 game, where I have modified borders, I have ended wars, and you know, stuff like that. So first and foremost, our current ruler is a glorious one. Look at that. 10 or more in every single stat. He converts over really well to CK2, to EU4, sorry. And his heir as well, Temujin and Temujin the third? No, this is Temujin the first, this is Temujin the second. And he's got a son called Temujin in turn. Yes. This guy has also got great stats, and he's ambitious and greedy, and he turns out pretty well, I have to say. In any case, the glorious Bayard tree ended with over 380 members. Look at this family tree, it's so large, the game actually lags when I look through it, which is quite impressive in its own right. So I think we will have to limit ourselves to the actual de facto rulers of Badian. And I think we shall go back, or actually, let's start from the start here. This is the one that reformed everything into tribal from the nomadic lifestyle. Khan Cthulhu I, the scourge of Brahma, because he wiped out Hinduism along with everything else. Actually, let's go even further back and look for, that's not the one I wanted, the Mongol Empire. Let's open that. So let's ignore some of these. These are just randomly generated characters for some fiddling around I have to do. Anyway, the first one was Genghis Khan Shigu, the Scourge of Perun. Actually, before him there was someone who ruled in Ertekin. We can go further back here. Should be at the very start here, yes. Here we go. Burkhan, the Bane of Yugra. That's the one we wanted. He died of cancer. A very, well, not a very old man, but a respectable 57 years old. He was succeeded by his son, Shigu the Hunter, who lived to an even more respectable 63 years old and also died of cancer. This is at the point where we formed the Mongol Empire, I do believe. So let's take a look at it. From the start. Yeah, this is indeed the son of Shigu the Hunter, the one to unite the Mongols into one realm. Genghis Khan Shigu, the Scourge of Perun. And Perun in this case, I believe, is the Slavic or Romeva high god. I can't remember, actually. He lived to a staggering 78 years old. Drunkard, one-eyed, disfigured, brawny adventurer. Yeah, he died a natural death, as far as we know. And I have no reason to doubt that. Anyway, there were several of his children that turned out to be Khans after him. The first one, Filkir Akuthai, the Cruel, and also the first one to both be and unite the Germanic faith. Here is where the Viking fervor started taking over the Mongols, creating some sort of unstoppable abomination. Look at that martial score, 21. Lived to be 56 years old, he had sympathy for Christendom, and he died of cancer, as is a family tradition by this point. He was followed by Yamuga, the Terror of Savoy. And look at that, that's the first Sunni Muslim, at least in the Bayard ruling family. Also a brawny adventurer, a homosexual as well, I'm sure he had some fun. And he died under suspicious circumstances. I would be interested in seeing who killed him, but I can't be bothered opening up the save files. Probably one of his brothers, because they were all littering his court. He had a massive 27 martial, but he wasn't that good at anything else. Following Jamuga was Horkudag the Despoiler. This is the first of many despoilers we had. Thoroughly average, lived to be 60 years old. Didn't have any children except for one guy that I believe, yeah, he died without getting children of his own at 72 years old. That was a poor show. Tamachi the Bold followed Horkudag. This, he died comatose in bed after having been incapacitated by a flu, I believe. He was also stark raving mad. A tradition that would be passed down through generations of Bayard. Following Tamachi the Bold was the second of the Despoilers. This one was a thoroughly crappy ruler. At least he had a lot of children, even though none of them became rulers. Nogai the Despoiler, at least he put the Nogai name here in the Bayard dynasty, died of cancer after having had his face chopped off. Following Nogai the Despoiler is the third Despoiler, Shilagun, or Shilagun. He was a decent ruler, having at least 3 stats over 10, or 10 or more rather. Following a family tradition, he too died of cancer. And I believe this is the first ruler of, let's see, looking at the graphical ethnicities here. Tamachi was the first one who deviated from being a pure Mongol into a Finnish GFX type, I believe. Nogai was also the Finnish GFX type. But then, following Shilagun the Despoiler, was Cthulhu the First, the Strong. And look at his, like blondish, like, very platinum blonde, I think. Platinum blonde hair. Look at that guy. His mother was a German, that's why. Wow, look at him. I don't think I had a German portrait pack at this point, so I never saw his terrible... I'm not sure, really. It's kind of cool in a way, but he also looks like a serial killer, which is completely fitting. Because all of these rulers were serial killers. Anyway, he died comatose in bed. By this point, I believe the Mongol Empire was really large. Yep, I believe most of Europe were under our hooves by this point in time. Following him... Oh, by the way, this is a string of Sunni rulers here. Following him is Fylkir Temur the Lionheart. Yes, indeed. Another Germanic pagan. He was mangled. I'm not sure exactly what went wrong here, but he's a lunatic with cancer, mangled, and I believe his court physician botched his treatment. So he didn't really stand a chance here. He died at 63 from cancer, but rather mistreatment, if we're to be completely honest. And he had stuff like, yeah, look at all of this. Look at all of this. It's starting to get immense. Following Fylkir Temur the Lionheart, we have the first Miaphysite Christian ruler, Kagan Kagatai the Despoiler. This means that we had reached this area and picked up this Miaphysite Christian religion. I believe I did that on purpose at some point. He was probably Tengri, if I don't misremember. He was a thoroughly average ruler, in any case. He died very, very young under suspicious circumstances. I don't think people appreciated his new religion. Torgotha the Holy followed him. This is another Viking, and lived to be 46 years old and died of cancer, a family tradition. He was frail and dull. It's surprising he lived for so long. Yeah, well, the cancer eventually killed him anyway. Following him, Kagan Megetu, the Destroyer, another Miaphysite Christian. Yeah, a pretty devout person, but other than that, thoroughly average. And then we stumble upon the contemporary Badian line. Cthulhu II, the Scourge of Brahma. The syphilitic uniter of the world. Yep indeed. He was absolutely average. You can ignore all of these characters here, because they were just created because of some glitched events. Never actually did anything. Here's Temujin, as you can see, Voyagin. Well, they glitched out and disappeared, as they should. Anyway, we have the Kingdom of Bayadia. Here we have some interesting rulers. While the rulers of the old nomadic empire were all pretty epic, except for a few ones. They all had massive stats, and only a few of them were completely average. Here we have more average rulers. We quickly came out of tribalism. Cthulhu II, known as the Blessed, he reformed to feudalism. And as you can see, he had a bunch of good traits, a pure diplomat. And here's where the warrior tradition of the Mongols, or the Bayads at least, started dying off, slowly. Cthulhu III was a skilled strategist, a very brilliant warrior. He can't compare to the warriors of old. That's because of his habit of being a bit daft and eating people. As you can see, he was both stressed and depressed, and a master schemer. Yeah, this was one hell of a character. And he looks, he's got the Indian blood in him. That's quickly thinning out across the line downwards. In any case, this was a... Look at how old he became. 70 years old. Impressive. I thought people would have killed him before then, but they never did. Following him was Belgute the Great. And a mere 35 years old. We had some short-lived rulers, relatively. One-eyed, nothing more to say about him really. Also a competent warrior, but it's a downward spiral from here. Then we have another Cthulhu. He died of camp fever at only 23 years old. This is why we've gotten such high regnal numbers. We've been killed and murdered. Khan Cthulhu V. He's got a clubfoot, just like Temur the Lame. And he's got a great martial score, just like Temur the Lame. Unfortunately, he was slain by Mayor Bogorshu of Senorapa in personal combat. I remember this. He was only 22 years old. Killed by this dude, who later died of gout. Such a luxury disease to die from. Following Cthulhu V, Cthulhu VI, Ironside. Well, he only lived until he was 37 years old, so... perhaps he took a lot of wounds or something, but... Look at this character. Skilled tactician, sympathy for pagans, homosexual, brawny, scarred, a cannibal, literal man-eater, poet, impaler. Yeah, one of our first Satanists. Indeed, this character was a freak show, to be honest. He just ate people. As far as I remember. He just ate them. Following the Ironside, we have Cthulhu the Wise, starting another tradition of pseudo-wizardry in the form of the Hermetic Society. As you can see here, a mastermind theologian that was also strong. But still, he kept the Bayad lunacy alive by being a kinslayer and a cannibal. Truly a one-of-a-kind character. 20 learning though, that's not bad. I think this character, despite having 1 learning, was also a member of the Hermetic Society. And also a cannibal. I don't know, we started eating people left and right. It was practically a family tradition, or actually a Bayadian tradition for the nobility to literally eat the peasants in time of plague. That could perhaps be reflected in the national ideas somehow? I'm not sure how, but Maybe. And with a nickname such as the Dragon, I have not very high hopes for Cthulhu here to not be a cannibal either. No, another cannibal. Yep, a dull cannibal and an architect to boot. Yeah, he designed a tower, I believe. I'm not sure if the tower is still standing. We can take a look, I guess. Maybe it wasn't in that province, maybe it was in another one. Maybe he didn't actually design a tower and I'm just misremembering things. Following the dragon is Cthulhu the 10th. Also, a very short-lived one. 34 years old. How long did the dragon live? 52? That's respectable at least. 34 years old. He died in battle against Targuthai, a low-born nobody, a peasant. Perhaps he was tired of us eating all of the peasants all the time. Who knows, right? At least he didn't actually turn into a public cannibal, Cthulhu the 10th. Following Cthulhu the 10th was someone not named Cthulhu. We have Karl the Cruel. And he's got cancer, actually, so... Well, I believe this one died in chess with death. Yeah, he had cancer, he was dull, he wasn't that good at anything. A really poor ruler. There's some sort of decadence that struck the Bayard family by this point. They are not as great as they used to be. They're all taking after the syphilitic lunatic that founded the state rather than the great conquerors that came before him. After Karl the Cruel, we have another Satanist, Cthulhu the 11th, the Cruel. Lots of the Cruel here. It's the peasants giving us nicknames we don't particularly care for. Yeah, not much to say here. Great stats in martial and intrigue, that is. But infirm, possessed, wrath, all the sins. Impaler, homosexual, scarred, shrewd. Oh, a shrewd character in the midst of all of the dull ones. And a brawny. And look at that. 81 years old. We played this guy longer than any other ruler we had played previously. I believe he sacrificed a few of his children to stay alive for this long, but needs must. Some of his children are alive. Oh, really old. Imagine if this guy would have lived just a little longer. They would have been... Well, they would have been eaten. Following him is Nogai the First, the Shadow of Bayadia. Lived to be 37 years old. Yeah, we were getting into the late game here. You all remember the rulers who just ruled for a few days and stuff. Well, we're getting into the territory here where people die all the time. This one died from a bad case of the flu. Truly embarrassing. A drunkard and being stressed. Though he was a shrewd master schemer. Which is amazing. Having a master schemer means you can kidnap people. Easy. Following him was Nogai the Second. Was a severely injured in great pox and frail. Yeah, he died from great pox. Really, he died from mistreatment, as you can see. Severely injured. Following him... Oh, at only 18 years old. That might be the shortest... the youngest ruler we've had die. Following him, anyway, Cthulhu, the 12th this time. Gout and poor traits. He died of complications relating to gout almost immediately after taking the throne. His child inherited Temujin, the Confessor. I'm not sure where we got the Confessor nickname from, but these stats, finally, a return to form for the Bayard dynasty. I actually didn't realize how lucky we were to get great stats here at the very end. And he's only a fortune builder with a few normal traits. It's nothing special, really. Diligent, patient, envious and lustful and charitable. Respected by the people and new insights. Family patriarch. And a lot of stuff from the treasury. In the treasury, we have Heartseeker. Legendary sword by this point. The original owner was Count Cthulhu Ironside. Oh, I remember him. It's this guy. Count Cthulhu Ironside. A Satanist, I believe. 37 years old. He created Heartseeker, and since then it has indeed penetrated many hearts. We have a ceremonial axe that we have stolen from Chief Shiledu of Sripuri at some point. Not sure who that is. Probably one of our vassals. We have a mace. We stole that from Prince Bishop Nogai of Armail. We don't use it though. We also have a long sword, stolen from Duke Subete of Dahala. An engraved sword from Count Ashig of Basururu. We have a magnum opus on Universal Panacea, written by Count Cthulhu the Dragon. Which was... who was that? This character. Yes, the cannibal, the dull cannibal. He actually wrote a magnum opus. And it stands to this day that its wisdom is being passed on. Only +2 learning though. We have an arming sword stolen from Duke Karl of Mathura. A strange chest we never got to open. And a finger of Saint John. So those are the rulers of Bayadia. Truly a weird bunch, to be honest. And Bayadia itself is a glorious place. At least a few provinces here are very glorious, as you can see. A fully developed Debu did indeed turn into the development of Paris when I converted. And we have one other province here that turns into a 30 development province, which is not bad. Not bad at all. I believe it's like spillover from this province when it maps to several. But we have 2 provinces in EU4 with some seriously kick-ass development. Exactly like I wanted it. And the vassal we have in EU4 is actually not Saurashtra. It's our merchant republic, Anarti, or Anarta even. Yeah, it's an interesting choice, but I prefer it over Saurashtra. Well, Saurashtra is a wicked priest peasant leader. Not sure why they chose him, but yeah. Anyway, as you can see here, the world is, well, it's disgusting to look at. There's wars and revolts. But I'll take a look here anyway, slowly, and then I load up the curated save, and you can see the curated world. Of course, when I do the EU4 conversion, I do a lot of fiddling around with provinces and cores and stuff in the EU4, on the EU4 map, because it doesn't map perfectly from 1-to-1. In any case, I will show you the curated CK2 save, because the EU4 conversion, I will wait a while with showing that, because I'm still developing it. And it's gonna take a few more weeks to get it all right, because I want it to be right. The EU4 conversion is the most important conversion. The Victoria 2 conversion handles itself pretty well. And the Hoi conversion, I can't really do much more than the converter itself does there, so I'm gonna take my time and make sure that EU4 conversion is perfect. This is the curated save. And I'll load in as Bayadia and show you some preliminary borders. They are fairly representative of the final product. Except that there will be a few more vassals and stuff. And indeed, I had to edit the colors, because you can see the colors of all the kingdoms in the world here. They are so washed out and they look like pastel colors. It's just disgusting. Anyway, here you can see. We got rid of the border gore here, gave it to Temuria and Mengei Dihistan. We have United Kingdoms, no border gore here except for a little bit in central India that I kept around because it's very logical border gore. It's Kalyani Godan here that has to take this province and that province to reconnect their lands. And if they succeed, they are usually pretty strong. If they don't, well, then they perish. The cultures, by the way, I'm just gonna take a quick look here. As you can see, the Inan Mongol almost eradicated the Ik Mongols. The Odin Mongols have been cut in twine. And the Gan Mongols have slowly but surely withheld the Inan Mongol dominance of India. Here, the Sky Mongols have given way to the Inan Mongols. The Alkini Mongols, the Mengen Mongols, and the Sky Mongols, along with the Inan Mongols, have fought hard for this area. The Salkini Mongol pressing downwards, the Shar Mongols being displaced northwards, You can see there's a slight culture overlap. And I'm gonna make more cultures, more culture groups for EU4 to make it more interesting. I think the culture groups will still be way larger than they usually are in normal EU4, because I would like this campaign to be different. Expansion should be fairly easy for these nations. I want large nations that expand quickly, because they are all Mongol at heart. We have an interesting Als-Mongol nation in Tunisia. Als-Mongol being from central Germany and Italy. Italy has lost out to the Chernin Mongols. The Chernin Mongols control most of it. As you can see here, there's some major overlap, but nothing extreme. Go back to India, take a quick look here. Temujin Rothas has migrated westwards. I did a rough approximation of where they should have land, and I also traded some land between the nations to give them logical borders and eliminate border gore, because EU4 doesn't handle border gore that well. So Temujin Rothas is fairly close to us, and well, I believe one of the sub-goals of EU4 will be to eliminate Temujin Rothas from the map. In case we go east, at least. We could also go west and challenge our Bayad dynastant here, in the form of Khan Buka II. The Targatai Shiraz kingdom has actually been under Bayad dominance for a very long time, even since Cthulhu I. Excuse me. Cthulhu I, the usurper, conquered it as a claimant. Yeah. They quickly reformed to feudal, following in our footsteps. And since then there's been several Cthulas, several Duas, no, actually just one Dua, several Shanais. So Shanai and Cthulhu are the names dominant here. I don't think we'll be friends in EU4. Targatai Shiraz actually starts out as one of the stronger great powers, but they have a very powerful vassal in the form of the old rulers of the kingdom, the Targuthai, that are still around, and they are of the correct culture. I've seen in some test games that either they break free or they absorb them. And if Oman here breaks free, or actually Targuthai, they break free, they usually take over all of this. And Targuthai Shiraz falls. Or if Targuthai Shiraz manages to absorb them, they become nigh unstoppable. So some of the other nations that become major powers at the start of EU4 are Megjin Gondar here. This is a strong nation. It's got all of these tiny provinces, and they're fairly well built up. That's why they take the spot, I do believe. We naturally have Mengutimuria here, which is also led by the Filkir himself. So this is the powerhouse of the Norse religion, indeed. This map here, this part of the map is very distorted compared to EU4. It's all bent like in a downwards arc. You will see eventually. And here we have the kingdom that usually ends up as number 1 in my test game. Tamal Chiltgen. You know, I'm not sure why. I guess it's their very strategic positioning here that allow them to grow so large. There are some more powerful great powers. I don't remember all of them, but I do remember a few of them. So, for example, Baburia is a great power. Borji Gidai is a great power. I do believe that Shiragulia is one as well, led by the Madrid dynasty. This is interesting. I love this, like, appropriation the Mongols have. There's some more interesting ones. Like, this is an old Bolorma kingdom. I think there's something here called the Wurzburgids. Might be... there they are. Karpilsen. The Wurzburgids. I really love when they take a random place name and just add a Mongol flair to it. We have a little Jewish kingdom here. This never lasts, unfortunately, but they can pop back up through rebels, and then they are Jewish. Megaginia, one of the few kingdoms that were here originally that still stands in, well, and it got land about where it got land before. It's kind of stretched across Britain in a very weird way. This is not the original shape and form of Megaginia, but he still have some French holding, and he still have plenty of Dior land. So Megaginia Khan Dayir the Tormentor is not led by the Well, actually, I think it is led. Yeah, it is led by the correct dynasty, the House Ganzorig. It has been ruled by House Yesugei a few times, but, well, it's still in the original shape. Petersweden as well. I think they have only been ruled by... No, look at that. They had a stint with House Berke. Oh, and House Berke, they are... if I don't misremember, they should be one of the initial clans as well. But the most powerful Berke clan is in the county of Sundgau. So, we have more original kingdoms around. I think Karkapwa holds the original kingdom of Ganbataria. The massive kingdom that stretched across all of this. Ganbataria has been ruled exclusively by Ganbatars. But since then, I do believe that... yeah, there are only a few nations ruled by the Ganbatars. It's Karkapwa, as well as this one, Horkudag. Interesting choice there. I wonder why... Alright, it was a guy named Horkudag created it way back in the days. Ukunaya, also ruled by Madrid. We have two rival Madrid kingdoms here, which is fairly interesting to see them duke it out in EU4. Shiguvidin. This is a wild card. They either collapse completely in EU4 or they get back their land. And this is an interesting kingdom. They are very split, but not in a border gory kind of way. More like Byzantium in EU4, only way stronger. They control several different ports and they have to sail between them, and if they can, they can. And they are ruled by the Menge, which is not the original dynasty. The original dynasty was Enktuya. I remember them. Do they have any living members? Nope. They are all dead. The Enktuya were wiped out. Taken over by a few 100 years of civil war, it seems, like Yeke, Cthulahid, Menge. And then Menge finally stuck in Shiguvidin. But the Enktuya legacy will always live on. I believe this is one of the original ones, if I don't misremember. It's created in the year 1030 by Bugunte. And it's still ruled by the originals, with a slight stint with the Mungligids in the middle there. Odegast Niord. This is an interesting kingdom. They have got the Timbuktu logotype on their flag. And it's a republic. I actually don't think there's many other original kingdoms left. We have some kingdoms that have stuck around for quite a while. Well, Altan Kom, I believe, is one of the older ones. Let's see here. Yeah, it is. Created in 1030 by CK2. Unfortunately, they lost out early to the Cthulahids. And then the Shemakids that rule them now in a very, runt state. Anyway, let's take a look at the governments, because unlike standard EU4, there will be way more interesting governments here and there. We have a little merchant republic down there, some tribals still. Primarily in Europe and Africa, it seems, the theocracies and the republics slowly but surely disappeared after a while. We still got this eternal tribal here. Bogorcha the Liberator liberated a tribal kingdom. Got some merchant republics in Britain, in the form of Cadania. This one has stuck around for a while. There used to be merchant republics here, but they are all vassals, I believe. If even that. We have a massive republic here in the form of Dagunia. It used to be way bigger. Used to have all of this. but it can bounce back in EU4. It's possible. We have some theocracies. Inalchi, the Inalchi theocracy. We have a merchant republic in the form of Chernigov. This is one I kind of made because it was a border gore extension of Dagunia. Some tiny republics here. Peasant republics. And, of course we have this massive republic in the south. This is still tribal. Alright, Barton Alexandria, I'm not impressed. This is one of the kingdoms I modified quite heavily. It's Yamuga ni Kure, because it had its capital in the middle of Germany, and then all of, like, random coastal provinces. So I moved it to Venice, because Venice was owned by Falsni Ord, and Falsni Ord had no other ports, so they traded provinces, I believe. I don't remember exactly what I did, but something like that. So they are now a coastal-based merchant republic. Unfortunately, they don't tend to last very long. Primarily because they control a lot of territory that is of the wrong culture. Let's see here. Yeah, there's some Als Mongol, but most of it is Baga Mongol and Shonin Mongol. Is there anything else? Yeah, well, the religious map mode. I can show you that there is a massive religious conflict in the middle of Europe. Lots of different branches of Islam and Yazidi and Tengri are fighting here. While Tengri Odd is kind of firmly established in both Scandinavia. They had a stint with Islam, I know that. And the British Isles. And parts of France, even though there's a religious conflict here, so I can't say that this is a perfect Tengri Odd area. Anatolia, as well as the Balkans, except for some Islamic conquerors here. And of course India and Persia. They are all fairly Tengri Odd. There's some Germanics here, but they quickly disappear, as well as some Tengri Tsar. We have lots of Tengri. We have this interesting little Shia revolter state here. I gave them some more territory. It's gonna be interesting to see if they manage to survive in EU4. Anyway, I believe this is it. If you have any questions, ask them in the comments and I will try to answer them for you. And I will also upload the saves as well as the final mod in the comments. So thank you for watching and stay tuned for an EU4 converter update. Thank you for watching.